Have you ever wondered how much of British spy cinema is actually real? Beneath the gadgets, codes, and quiet tailing lies a world rooted in real tradecraft, the kind that shaped history. From World War deception plots to Cold War mole hunts, some filmmakers didn't just imagine espionage, they studied it. And what they found was far more clever and far more human than anyone expected. These are 15 British spy thrillers built on real methods that spies actually used. Tailor Soldier Spy, 2011. This isn't a story about shootouts. It's about whispers, betrayal, and the loneliness of truth. Tailor Soldier Spy captures espionage the way real agents describe it: endless waiting-coded glances and the exhaustion of trust. Based on John le Carré's legendary novel, it mirrors the genuine Cambridge 5 mole scandal that shook British intelligence in the 1950s. Gary Oldman's George Smiley isn't the type to leap through explosions. He's the quiet man in the corner studying the way someone stirs their tea. Every pause, every misplaced file could expose a traitor. Director Thomas Alfredson's attention to authenticity makes the film almost forensic. MI6 veterans even admitted how accurate it felt, not in flash but in fatigue. The sets were built using genuine Cold War interiors, complete with dull beige walls and thick glass, no glamour, only paranoia. It's the realism that grips you. Espionage is a mental chess match where every move costs something personal. In its silence, the film honors real agents who played that same invisible game. Tailor Soldier Spy doesn't just show spying, it captures the price of it. The Courier, 2020. Not every spy carried a codebook. Some just carried charm and nerves of steel. The Courier tells the true story of Greville Wynne, a British salesman who found himself recruited by MI6 to courier secret information from Moscow at the height of the Cold War. Played with quiet intensity by Benedict Cumberbatch. Wynne was no James Bond. He was an ordinary man turned messenger between British intelligence and Soviet informant Oleg Penkovsky, whose leaks helped prevent a potential world conflict. What makes the film riveting isn't explosions or gadgets, but the unbearable strain of pretending everything is normal while every handshake could end your life. Director Dominic Cooke keeps it grounded in authenticity: no sleek tuxedos, just rain-soaked streets, briefcases, and coded smiles. Cumberbatch lost weight to reflect Wynne's imprisonment in a Soviet cell, giving his physical transformation the same bleak realism as the story's outcome. What makes The Courier stand apart is how it celebrates courage without glamour. It's about the real people caught in history's shadows, where heroism means simply showing up one more time, even when the odds are impossible. By the final act, you're reminded that sometimes the most daring acts of espionage are performed by the least likely people. Operation Mincemeat, 2021. It sounds absurd, a plan involving a corpse, fake letters, and an ocean current. Yet it happened. Operation Mincemeat dramatizes one of the most ingenious real-life deception operations of World War II. In 1943, British intelligence planted falsified documents on the body of a homeless man, Glinder Michael, dressing him as a Royal Marine. The goal? Convince Nazi command that the Allied invasion would target Greece instead of Sicily. Against all odds, the ruse worked. German forces diverted troops, saving countless Allied lives. Colin Firth leads a stellar cast in a film that balances dark humor with solemn respect for the absurdity of war. The production leans heavily on historical research, even depicting Ian Fleming, then a naval intelligence officer who later used such experiences to inspire his famous fictional spy. The movie's brilliance lies in its restraint. It doesn't glorify deception, it studies it. The meticulous crafting of identity, the psychological gamble, the grim creativity of desperate men trying to outthink an enemy. Operation Mincemeat proves that truth really can be stranger and cleverer than fiction. It's not about how loud a plan can be, but how quietly it can win. The Imitation Game, 2014. Before spies carried microfilm or bugged hotel rooms, they fought wars with pencils and equations. The Imitation Game follows the story of Alan Turing, the mathematician who cracked the German Enigma code during World War II. Played by Benedict Cumberbatch. Turing is portrayed not as a dashing secret agent, but as a brilliant outsider whose logic helped shorten the war by years. The real Bletchley Park, recreated in painstaking detail, becomes a war room of the mind, a place where silence was deadlier than gunfire. Director Morton Teldum focuses on the human puzzle behind the machine one, the frustration, secrecy, and emotional toll of solving what seemed unsolvable. The film takes minor creative liberties, but the heart of it, the endless decoding, the ethical choices about who to save once Enigma was broken, is entirely true. The story reminds us that real espionage isn't always about disguises or shootouts. Sometimes it's about numbers, patience, and moral compromise. By the end, Turing isn't just a hero of code breaking, he's a reminder that saving the world doesn't always require a gun, just genius and persistence. Few films make intelligence feel this thrilling. The King's Man, 2021. Before MI6 became a household name, British intelligence was born out of chaos, ambition, and cunning. The King's Man may play like a stylized prequel to the Kingsman series, but hidden beneath its sharp suits and high energy lies a story surprisingly grounded in real history. Set during World War I, the film builds its fictional spy network around real figures like Rasputin, Kaiser Wilhelm, and King George, weaving historical fact into a story about the formation of Britain's earliest intelligence networks. Director Matthew Vaughn threads real espionage techniques through the spectacle-coded letters, misinformation campaigns, and secret diplomacy that actually mirrored early British efforts to outmaneuver their enemies. Ralph Fiennes gives the film its heart as Orlando Oxford, a man torn between moral duty and the need for covert action. While it plays fast and loose with certain events, the film cleverly echoes the genuine evolution of British spycraft, the same covert alliances and undercover strategies that would eventually inspire the creation of MI6. What makes The King's Man stand out isn't its action, but its underlying truth. Even the most daring operations began with real agents, real deceptions, and real sacrifices. It's a reminder that behind the myth of British espionage lies a history just as bold and often just as unbelievable as fiction itself. Body of Lies, 2008. What happens when deception becomes a profession? Body of Lies, directed by Ridley Scott, is a rare spy thriller that mirrors real intelligence work between the CIA and MI6 during the early 21st century. Although centered on American agents, its backbone lies in genuine British and Allied tactics, tradecraft based on signals interception, double-agent recruitment, and disinformation strategy. Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Roger Ferris, isn't a superhero. He's an analyst turned operative balancing technology with human trust. The film captures how post-9/11 intelligence relied not on action heroes, but on analysts glued to screens tracking targets through surveillance triangulation and encrypted communication. Russell Crowe's character represents the bureaucratic command, distant, detached, yet controlling every move from thousands of miles away. What makes it fascinating is its accuracy in portraying real intelligence tension, the rift between fieldwork and head office politics. Scott collaborated with former intelligence advisors to ensure the authenticity of its communications methods, safe house setup, and the tone of interagency distrust. There's no glamour here, just misdirection layered over moral fatigue. By the end, Body of Lies becomes less about winning and more about surviving a system that devours its own agents. It's a reminder that in modern espionage, truth is a luxury and loyalty can't always be tracked on a map. The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, 1965. If Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy is about subtle suspicion, The Spy Who Came In From the Cold is about total despair. Based on John le Carré's second novel, this is the quintessential Cold War film, one that strips espionage of every trace of glamour and leaves only grit, rain, and betrayal. Richard Burton's Alec Leamas is a British agent sent to East Germany to act as bait in a trap. But the more he plays the game, the more he realizes the game is playing him. Shot in stark black and white, the film reflects the moral fog of real intelligence operations where truth and lies are often indistinguishable. The script drew heavily on le Carré's own MI6 experience. The tradecraft shown fake defections, controlled leaks, and deliberate double crosses was rooted in real Cold War operations. Even the dialogue dense with bureaucratic restraint mirrors the clipped, coded way intelligence officers actually spoke. Critics at the time called it the anti-Bond. And they were right. There are no gadgets, no cocktails, no car chases. Just men in gray coats trading humanity for national duty. The Spy Who Came In From the Cold remains timeless because it shows espionage as it truly is not a game of action, but a contest of endurance where everyone eventually loses something. The Constant Gardener, 2005. On the surface, The Constant Gardener looks like a romantic drama. But beneath that, it's a chilling look at real diplomatic espionage, how British intelligence often walks the razor's edge between ethics and politics. Based on another of John le Carré's works, the film follows Ralph Fiennes as Justin Quayle, a British diplomat investigating the suspicious death of his activist wife in Kenya. What begins as personal grief turns into a hunt through corporate cover-ups and government silence. While the story is fictional, the investigative methods it portrays, encrypted files, false passports, and diplomatic channels used for covert inquiries, are modeled after actual Foreign Office protocols. Director Fernando Meirelles approached the movie like a journalistic thriller. Many scenes were shot with real locals, real embassy locations, and unfiltered dialogue about corruption and silence. That realism hits hard because it's the same restraint real agents face. How far can you go before truth itself becomes classified? Unlike flashy spy flicks, this one deals in quiet courage. Every revelation feels painfully plausible. The Constant Gardener isn't just about secrets, it's about conscience. It proves that sometimes the most dangerous thing a spy can do is ask one question too many. The Fourth Protocol, 1987. What if a single briefcase could start a global crisis? The Fourth Protocol adapted from Frederick Forsyth's novel plays with that terrifying realism. It imagines Soviet operatives attempting to assemble a small nuclear device on British soil and MI5 racing to stop them. The details feel almost documentary level because Forsyth, known for his insider precision, based much of the story on actual Cold War security leaks and infiltration concerns. Michael Caine stars as John Preston, an MI5 officer, piecing together a web of coded communications defectors and dead drops. His methods, intercepting radio bursts, decoding cipher pads, tracking courier drops, all came straight from real intelligence manuals of the era. Even the film's tone, bleak and procedural, reflects how intelligence work really functions. Long stretches of boredom punctuated by brief moments of panic. The movie was filmed with technical consultants who had backgrounds in British intelligence, ensuring the tradecraft stayed credible. There's no wild chase scene here. The suspense builds from paperwork, intercepted signals, and the terrifying possibility that one missed message could mean catastrophe. In a genre full of exaggeration, The Fourth Protocol earns its tension honestly. It's the kind of film that feels like a classified report you weren't supposed to see. A Most Wanted Man, 2014. Espionage is rarely clean, and A Most Wanted Man shows exactly how messy modern spy work can get. Adapted from John le Carré's post-9/11 novel, it follows a German intelligence officer working alongside British and American agencies to track a mysterious Chechen refugee suspected of funding terrorism. Philip Seymour Hoffman gives one of his final and finest performances as Gunther Bachmann, a weary operative trying to balance morality against orders. The movie's realism comes from le Carré's direct research into rendition programs, undercover recruitment, and post-war alliances between MI6, the CIA, and Germany's BND. Every method, the bugged pins, secret banking trails, identity fabrication mirrors, real tactics used by Western intelligence. There's no action spectacle, only cold, steady observation and the constant question of who's actually in control. Director Anton Corbijn's muted style reinforces that reality. Rooms full of watchers watching each other, everyone pretending to be the good guy. When the ending hits, sudden, quiet, and devastating, it feels painfully authentic. A Most Wanted Man isn't about catching villains. It's about what happens when idealism runs headfirst into bureaucracy. It's a reminder that in real intelligence work, victory is often invisible and sometimes it doesn't come at all. The Secret Agent, 1996. Set in late Victorian London but pulsing with timeless dread. The Secret Agent is based on Joseph Conrad's novel inspired by a real event, the Greenwich Park bombing of 1894. The film pulls back the curtain on one of the earliest known examples of domestic espionage and political infiltration in Britain. Bob Hoskins plays Verloc, a man caught between his work as an informant for the police and his secret life among anarchists. What makes it remarkable is how closely the film aligns with genuine intelligence methods of the period: coded letters, double loyalties, and the use of civilian informers as pawns. Before MI5 existed, Britain relied on ordinary citizens like Verloc to keep an eye on radicals. The system was messy, manipulative, and morally gray, just like the film itself. Director Christopher Hampton gives the story a grim intimacy. Every room feels suffocating, every conversation loaded with hidden meaning. It's espionage before satellites and gadgets, back when spies traded secrets in back alleys, not boardrooms. And it quietly exposes a pattern that still defines modern intelligence, using fear to justify surveillance. The Secret Agent may be set in gaslight London, but its methods: infiltration, manipulation, moral confusion remain chillingly modern. Watching it feels like witnessing the birth of British espionage itself. Spooks, The Greater Good, 2015. For fans of grounded spy realism, Spooks, The Greater Good is a direct descendant of everything MI5 stands for, both the precision and the panic. Serving as the big-screen continuation of the acclaimed BBC series, the film plunges viewers into modern British counterintelligence with startling realism. When a dangerous suspect escapes custody during a routine transfer, MI5 must clean up the fallout. What follows is a world of encrypted data, false leads, and internal betrayal familiar to anyone who's followed real intelligence failures in recent decades. The film's strength lies in its accuracy. MI5 consultants were brought on to ensure the operation's terminology and protocols felt true to life. There are no impossible gadgets or slick tuxedos here. Instead, the tension comes from digital surveillance grids, facial recognition chases through London, and the endless debate over privacy versus protection. Peter Firth's Harry Pierce, weary and sharp, embodies the human cost of that endless balance. Spooks, The Greater Good reminds viewers that espionage doesn't always unfold overseas. Sometimes it happens on your own street, hidden beneath the hum of city traffic. It's fast, contemporary, and terrifyingly believable, capturing exactly how British intelligence would move if everything went wrong in real time. The Ghostwriter, 2010. Political secrets can be just as explosive as classified files, and The Ghostwriter dives straight into that reality. Directed by Roman Polanski and starring Ewan McGregor, it isn't a spy movie in the traditional sense, but its realism lies in how it exposes the quiet mechanics of information control. McGregor plays a professional ghostwriter hired to complete the memoirs of a former British Prime Minister played by Pierce Brosnan. As he digs deeper into the drafts, he uncovers links between the politician and covert operations involving intelligence cooperation and rendition flights. Though fictional, the film's details mirror genuine political whispers from the early 2000s, the kind that rarely make front-page news but shape foreign policy for decades. Everything about The Ghostwriter feels unsettlingly plausible. The dialogue references real government phrasing, the documents resemble authentic diplomatic briefings, and the tension builds not through car chases but through redactions and missing pages. What makes the film powerful is its restraint. It never shouts its revelations, it lets them creep in. It's about the espionage of influence, the manipulation of narrative, and how truth can vanish under layers of official polish. In the end, it proves that the pen might not be mightier than the sword, but it's certainly more dangerous when wielded in silence. The Bank Job, 2008. Now this one's a heist story, but a heist built on whispers of real intelligence interference. The Bank Job, starring Jason Statham, is inspired by the 1971 Baker Street robbery in London, a case that still raises questions about what was really taken that night. Officially, the burglars broke into safety deposit boxes looking for money and jewels. Unofficially, many suspect the job was manipulated by British intelligence to recover sensitive photographs and documents hidden among the loot. The film leans into that theory with relish, turning an ordinary crime into a covert cleanup mission. Director Roger Donaldson mixes humor with authenticity. The film meticulously recreates period details, rotary phones, coded radio chatter, and the surveillance systems of the early 70s. Every plan, every map feels like something real people could have executed with sweat and nerve. No fantasy gadgets, just drills and street smarts. The genius of the bank job is that it blurs the line between crime and espionage until you can't tell which is dirtier. Maybe the robbers were amateurs. Maybe they were pawns. Either way, the story feels entirely possible, and that's what makes it such a thrilling slice of British spy folklore. The Good Shepherd, 2006. While The Good Shepherd focuses largely on the birth of the CIA, its roots are unmistakably British. The film traces how MI6's post-war methods, secrecy, compartmentalization, and selective truth became the blueprint for modern intelligence. Matt Damon's character, Edward Wilson, is fictional but modeled on real figures who worked alongside British officers during and after World War II. Director Robert De Niro built the film's realism through research into how information was gathered, vetted, and buried in those early years. Many of the operations depicted surveillance in Berlin, propaganda in Africa, and coded transmissions mirror genuine British procedures of the late 1940s. The movie isn't glamorous. It's cold, bureaucratic, and heavy with quiet paranoia. It captures the cost of creating an agency where everyone knows everything except who to trust. The lighting, the jargon, the moral weight, it all feels eerily authentic. What The Good Shepherd reveals more than anything is how the British art of intelligence shaped the American one. Behind every confident agent and crisp suit lies a legacy of paperwork, deception, and doubt passed down across the Atlantic. It's not about who wins the Cold War, it's about who can live with what they did to fight it. So which of these films fooled you into thinking it was pure fiction? From backroom codebreakers to cold-eyed analysts, these stories prove that Britain's greatest spy thrillers often began with classified files, not imagination. Real tradecraft, real tension, and real consequences only dressed for the big screen. Which one do you think comes closest to the truth? Drop your pick in the comments, hit subscribe, and keep your cover for now.